Computer hardware is overperforming in 2023, and as we start to see the new graphics cards like AMD's 7000 series or even Nvidia's 40 series graphics cards, I've become a little bit curious. Should you upgrade from those old artifacts of 2016, or should you keep trying to push as much performance out of those graphics cards as humanly possible? Well, I've managed to grab myself a GTX 1080, and we're going to pair it alongside the 5800X to answer that question, whether or not you should get rid of your graphics card or not. Welcome to the Sugar Gaming channel. Today we are going to be re-reviewing the GTX 1080 to see if those ancient artifacts of 2016 will hold up to today's standard. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit more about our sponsor. Today's sponsor is New Code Designs. New Code is a brand new clothing store online for Etsy buyers. Are you interested in urban streetwear that is available to you at a cheap price with great designs? Head on over to New Code Designs on Etsy to get your new gear today. Also, don't forget to drop into Discord at the SMG Gaming Community, links in the description below. Back in the day, the GTX 1080 was something to be admired. It was one of the most powerful GPUs, and is still a fairly powerful GPU in terms of performance. But by today's standards, it is starting to slowly become less of an option for gamers alike. But for those of you who already own it or are looking to buy the GTX 1080 because you have something less in it, today we're going to review it and give you guys an honest, real-world opinion on whether or not we should be sticking with this card or upgrading to it. Before the benchmarks, let's jump into some of the specifications of the GTX 1080 and give you guys a bit of a rundown of what this card is made of. The GTX 1080 runs on 8GB of DDR5 memory with a base clock of 1784 MHz and a boost clock of 1936 MHz. The card also has 2560 CUDA cores and runs on Nvidia's 60nm chip, and also runs its latest then top-of-the-line Pascal architecture. GTX 1080 Extreme Gaming is a 3-fan double slot card with 3 display ports, 1 HDMI cord, and also has the original DVI-D connector. This card was able to run the majority of VI headsets and actually has a dongle that helps run the headset, VI headsets, a lot more efficiently. This card is an absolute beast. The original retail price of this card was around $699 US, and it dropped first in 2016. So, how will it perform? Today we got it running in our daily driver. The original graphics card in it is a 6700 XT, which I've been running for last couple of years, and we're going to be replacing that with the GTX 1080. It is also coupled with my 5800X here, as well as 32 gigs of RAM. This card within my own setup should give you guys a bit of an idea of how this card is going to continue to perform in 2023, and with fairly up-to-date tech. So, without further ado, let's jump into the benchmarks. Well, there you guys have it. The GTX 1080 performs wonderfully, even at 1440p. We see some games still playable even if they aren't at 60 FPS. And if you don't mind playing your story games less than FPS, which I really don't mind because it's all about the visuals, you won't have an issue. But if you're looking at more of those shooting games that need more FPS and are a little bit more intense, like your Call of Duty, your Fortnite, your Apex, so on and so forth, you would want to be sticking to that lower resolution of 1080p. In general consensus, you guys saw that the GTX 1080 performed wonderfully and was smashing the majority of games out of the park. There were a few titles there that ran a little bit under the amount of FPS that you want, like Cyberpunk, etc. But overall, this card performed wonderfully. You don't have to worry about any sort of RTX or any of your card doing any of that, so you can really throw all the performance into the FPS as exactly how the gaming cards used to be made. Summary: if you guys are looking to buy this card as an upgrade for lesser graphics card, I highly recommend you do so. If you guys currently own this card at the moment and looking at upgrading for better resolution, it is a good option to upgrade so you're able to play above 1440p as well as 4K. But if you guys are happy with 1080p gaming and a lower FPS on those 1440p games, the GTX 1080 is a monster and shouldn't really be getting rid of until some of those other GPU prices come down. Overall, this is a great GPU still in 2023 and shouldn't be looked at funny. If you guys are looking at getting a new card and you guys have less than, do so. If you guys are looking at wanting to play intense games, competitive games, do so. But if you guys are looking at playing at a higher resolution, look at a different card potentially. Guys, I want to thank you guys so much for jumping on the video. If you guys like what you saw, hit the subscribe button, tick the notification button. As always, stay tuned for tech tips, tech gaming reviews, and more. Thank you guys very much. Stay safe. Hope to see you guys in the next video. As always, take care. Peace and love.